All right, here we go. Another day, getting ready for nationals. So I have already created or started my 2024 Optics Nationals process is going through right now. So I am getting ready for the big show, the biggest match of the year. So right now, the biggest thing for me is just try to get ready mentally. There's not much I'm going to change as a shooter with the skills. I feel extremely good about where I'm at skill set wise. Every year I have felt better and better and better coming into nationals. And, a lot of this stuff has to do with my mindset. I've changed a lot of my mindset. I have become more confident in myself as I've gone through, the years of training and the years of practice and the thousands of rounds that I put down range, the thousands of mistakes that I've made. I feel like even though they're the most frustrating thing at the time and they're just so frustrating to deal with, that those mistakes are lessons, right? You learn from your mistakes, you learn those lessons, and if you actually learn from those mistakes and you use those mistakes in a positive way, those mistakes become almost something that you kind of look forward to, right? Because it gives you something to keep you motivated, keeps you in the sport, keeps you tight, makes you understand that no matter how good you really get in this sport, you always kind of suck, right? Like you can always get better. And it's not, it's not very often that you hear probably one of the top shooters or one of the guys that are good in the sport say, man, it's kind of good to mess up. It gives you something it brings you back to reality a lot of the times. So, there's nothing like just absolutely crushing a stage, walking away from that stage and just knowing like, man, I smoked that stage. And then the next stage, bobble a reload, or shoot a Charlie, a Delta, or a Mike, or something weird. Even though you were on fire, this sport can humble you within one bullet. It's pretty wild. So what makes me bring all this up is mainly I see students all the time. I just shot with some students this weekend, and one of my best students out of the group who's really shown a lot of growth. He's one of the most dedicated guys that's come out of my classes. He's actually taken a second class this year, so one every year so far in the last 2 years, and he is like leaps and bounds above or farther than where he has ever been before. But today, or this weekend we shot together, he had a few mics. And I was like, so why did you have that mic, or where was that from, or where was this from? I already knew the answer. I watched him shoot it. I knew exactly what he did wrong and where he made the mistake. And his first thing is because I suck. And immediately I was like, okay, that's enough of that. Like that, don't even talk like that. I go, I want you to realize something. You had a great draw, a great entry, a great exit, great reload. You had one bad bullet. So what about all the other great things that you did? Right? Like all the great things that you just did, that you just executed, and somehow you suck, right? And I said, it's not that you suck, it's that you sucked for that one bullet, or you made a mistake on that one bullet. So now, how do we handle that? Instead of looking at it as a negative, you look at it as a lesson, right? So what I see is, being or living in reality and having that negativity to living in reality and having a negative thought, such as, man, I should have done this, or I made a mistake here, I made a mistake there. If you learn from those, they don't become negative anymore. They become a lesson. It's when you look at them and you say, oh man, I really sucked, or I'm terrible, or all these different things. That's the worst way to look at it, right? Because you obviously don't suck. Let's just say you shot 28 alphas and 2 Charlie, or 28 alphas or 29 alphas and a mic. Does that mean you suck? Or does that mean one bullet got you? One mistake. That doesn't mean you suck. That just means you had one mistake, right? One mistake, that's it. So don't look at it in a negative way. Look at it as a positive thing. Now, oh man, okay, I now have an answer on something that I can make sure I don't do on the next stage. I don't do on the next drill. I don't make those mistakes in dry fire. I will make sure that I put that on my priority list of things that that I will make a mistake on, and I will make sure I lock that in during the stage planning. I lock in that I'm gonna stop on that headshot or stop on that no shoot and not just sweep through it. I'm gonna make sure that my eyes are in front of the gun before it gets there. Those are all things that become mistakes that you can learn from. They're not a negative, that's a positive. The negative is when you don't do anything about the mistakes, right? Those mistakes are going to happen. They happen to the best shooters in the world. The thing is those best shooters in the world start to identify those mistakes or where those possible mistakes can come from, and they fix it. They don't just keep going up to the line and doing the same thing over and over and over again. It still amazes me to this day that people go to a match and they shoot Alpha Charlie, Alpha Charlie, Alpha Charlie, Alpha Charlie, Alpha Charlie on a stage, and they shoot almost 50-50 in hits. And you never see them go to the safe table and make an adjustment. You never see them make an adjustment in their grip. You never see them make any types of adjustments in their shooting before they get to the next stage, right? Instead, they come off and they're bitching at themselves and they're negative and they're upset. That's not the way to do it. The way to do it is look at those negative things and take them and use them in a positive way. And that's where you'll really see the difference in your shooting. That has been the biggest change in my shooting in the last 2 to 3 years. If I shoot a mic now, that next stage is probably gonna be, I'm gonna absolutely crush it, right? If I shoot a Delta, I'm gonna absolutely crush my accuracy on the next stage because I am going to lock in where I made that mistake. Did I sweep the target? Did my eyes not get there? All those things become repairs for the next stage, not negative, right? I don't look at it like, oh man, I shot a mic, my match is over. I don't even try to push. I just look at the next stage and say, all right, baby, you're doing everything you're supposed to do. You just lost focus on that single bullet and you didn't use your vision like you were supposed to, which is where most mics come from. And I just lock it in for the next one. And the very next stage is almost always a banger for me. Always crush the next stage because those mistakes can't be made up, but the next stage can be as perfect as possible, right? Because I made sure I didn't repeat that same mistake. All right, guys, if you have any questions, hit me up in those comments. I'll see you on the range.